and welcome to those of you here in the Gallagher Theater and those of you streaming online. Tonight's performance, tonight's debate, I should say. Oops, Daisy, there we go. Hang on. There we go. I'm Barney McCabe. I'm the Executive Director of the Institute for Computation and Data-Enabled Insight here at the University of Arizona. Our mission is to bring focus to all the ways we are using computation and data here to meet our research, teaching, and land-grant missions here at the University of Arizona. I'd like to start by recognizing and respectfully acknowledging that the University of Arizona is on the land and territories of the indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tucson being home to the O'odham and Yaqui. Committed to diversity and inclusion, the university strives to build sustainable relationships with sovereign native nations and indigenous communities through education offering, partnerships, and community service. Tonight's a special event. It's a debate around the question, will AI writing tools help Gen Z in the classroom and in their careers? Designed for those of you who have wondered what the future of AI is, has ChatGPT changed the way you study for better or for worse? Will it help your careers for better or for worse? How will we proceed in this? By the way, if you're not excited and terrified at the same time about what's going on with AI, you're not listening to what's going on. It's a very exciting time. It's also a very concerning time. This debate is a partnership with ICDI, the Office of the Provost, the Office of Research, Innovation, and Impact, and the University of Arizona Debate Series, and is part of the AI at Arizona Town Hall Series. The goal of the AI Town Hall Series is to facilitate inclusive campus-wide conversations focused on the emergence of advanced information technologies like ChatGPT and other generative AI tools. The debate series was founded in 2018 to elevate campus discourse through a series of public forums, panel discussions, and debates. The group hosts a combination of students, faculty, and public figures with the goal of destigmatizing debate by emphasizing communication over conflict. The students in tonight's debate are Jakob Buckley, who's a junior, and Camila Aguilar, a sophomore, arguing the affirmative. And we have Sierra Wilder, apologies, a senior, and Olivia Haller, a sophomore, arguing in the negative. I'd like to introduce tonight's moderator, Ted McCloof, the Executive Director of the UA Debate Series and Principal Lecturer in the English Department and the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences. Welcome, Ted. I turn the stage over to you.
Thank you. I'm a lot shorter, so I have to adjust this. Hi, everyone. Welcome, and we are really happy to have everybody here for tonight's debate. Tonight is our last forum of the fall semester. The debate series itself has had a pretty cool semester. We've been asking the question, who is Generation Z? And we wanted to combine with all of the groups that are asking the question, what's going on with AI, in order to ask the question tonight, what's going on with Gen Z and AI? So tonight we're going to be asking that question, again, by asking whether or not AI writing tools will help prepare students academically and professionally. That's going to be our question for you tonight. Just to let everyone know how this whole entire thing is going to run, what we're going to do is I'm going to just let you know what the voting system looks like. We're going to have a QR code right up here. So if you could take out your phones and you could vote on this question behind my head. It's an Oxford-style debate, which means what we're going to have is a vote at the beginning and a vote at the end. And we're going to find out who ends up changing the audience's mind the most rather than who ends up getting the most votes. This debate is going to run in 3 rounds. We're going to have short opening statements from either side to kick off the entire debate to find out what each side's basic case is going to be. After that, we're going to have a middle round where our debaters will have a chance to address each other, answer my questions, and answer audience questions. So if you have questions from the audience, we'd love to hear them. And then after that, we're going to hear closing statements where our debaters will have one last chance to try and get your vote, after which we will get our final vote from you. And again, we'll find out who ends up winning the debate by persuading the audience the most. We also, as you all know, as you walked in, have a raffle for both a Gentleman's t-shirt and a Gentleman's gift certificate. This is one of the few times when I'm really angry that I can't enter the raffle, because that's a prize that I would really like, but it's okay. But we will announce that as well at the end, so stick around for that as well. So that's all. I want to make sure that everyone is really clear, so if you could just lock in your vote. As soon as everyone has their votes locked in, then we're going to turn off the screen so that the cameras can see what we're doing here. And please make sure that once you lock in your vote, that you put your phones away and put them on silent so that we don't end up interrupting our excellent debaters up here tonight. I'd like to say that I want to give a round of applause for everybody who's up here, but I also want to make sure that everyone knows you can continue to applaud and you continue to laugh. Maybe don't boo, but cheer as much as you want, and whenever you hear at a point that you really like, we encourage that. That would be great. Audience participation is always great. And let's go ahead and get one opening round of applause for all 4 of our debaters here tonight. All right, and let's go ahead and open up with our opening statements and opening up the argument, affirming the idea that yes, indeed, AI writing tools will help prepare students academically and professionally. We have Camila.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to start by saying AI has taken the world of education by storm in the last few years. With the growth of artificial intelligence and emerging technologies, AI is predicted to reshape the workforce. Because of this, schools need to get students ready to compete for jobs, and colleges should offer the right education and training for both students and people who are looking for a job or have been displaced. New technology will help bring in helpful tools for teachers, students, and anyone looking to learn new skills and find work. However, concerns abound about academic integrity, inaccuracy, and bias-generated information have created concerns in the academic world. However, this cautious response is expected. If you think this, we fully understand where you are coming from. My partner and I shared these concerns initially. However, when we thought about it more, we realized the incredible potential that AI could have if used correctly. Our case is that AI writing tools represent a powerful resource for academic and professional life that can be harnessed to prepare students for success. Human Haruni, a Harvard Graduate School lecturer on education, made a connection between how we are receiving AI. He states, technology creates a shock, sometimes of a magnitude that we cannot even understand, the same way that we haven't absorbed the shock of the mobile phone. With this in mind, we have 2 primary main arguments for why AI writing tools should have an accepted role in the classroom. One is that it helps students become more efficient and productive in their careers, and 2 is that it offers access to continuous feedback with one-on-one tutoring. Moving forward, we want to define what we are and are not talking about in terms of this debate. When we talk about academically, we are talking about all levels of education, meaning K through college and into postgraduate education and learning in the workforce. When we talk about preparing students for success, we are talking about helping students develop skills and knowledge that will benefit academic and professional interests, along with personal skills. By success, we're referring to the students achieving personal objectives, comprehending material, graduating, or achieving goals set forth in their job. We want to expand on our first argument that AI writing tools enhance student productivity and efficiency for careers. You may be thinking about how these tools could be potentially used for students to avoid developing crucial skills because of its ability to gather data, and your thoughts automatically go to cheating. This is where the educator is crucial. As a teacher or professor, they can play a crucial role in customizing the appropriate role of AI based upon the student's skills and level of education. If students already have strong skills in specific areas, AI can be useful for reducing the time spent on those tasks and instead focus on tasks the student hasn't yet developed fully. As such, time can be spent more efficiently to develop real-world skills, such as critical thinking, communication, and creativity. In professional life, it can help automate repetitive or simple but time-consuming tasks like monitoring objectives and steering employee development. AI research backs up this approach. We want to discuss research from various professional sources, such as the RAND Foundation and Brookings Institution, that shows how students are positively incorporating AI into their education. Our second argument is that it offers personalized tutoring. You may be thinking of how AI can provide flawed and even inaccurate information. That is where the educator and the student come in. We are not advocating that students take what AI says at face value. Rather, they should use it as a one source among others to assist their work. Actually, it can enhance critical analysis skills by employing students to check and analyze the evidence and arguments that AI provides. This has implications for both academic and professional life. For students, it can offer tools such as answering complex questions, synthesizing lengthy documents, and developing real-world skills based on the lessons from their teachers. Professional life, it can offer advice on soft skills for how to be productive in a work setting to hard skills such as conducting real-time data analysis. Students and workers are already experimenting with artificial intelligence on their own. And what this shows is that they need guidance about how to use it instead of ignoring its opportunities. Ultimately, we understand the concerns about the misuse and potential harms of AI. However, rather than avoiding AI, we should embrace innovation to prepare students for success in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Camila. And opening up the debate, negating the idea that AI writing tools will indeed help prepare students academically and professionally, we have Olivia.
We are here today to explain to you all how AI tools can be more harmful than good in an academic setting. Before going any further in this discussion, we want to make it clear that myself and my partner do not believe that we should get rid of AI tools altogether. We have both used AI tools in our academic life and understand the appeal to it, especially in college when under stress and having various other responsibilities. Our problem with AI, however, is how it is being used in our generation. As AI has integrated its way into academics, it has taken away our ability to properly critically think when learning new concepts. It also disrupts our ability to develop problem-solving skills and human interaction when learning. It's important as well to understand what we mean by the term academic success. Some may define academic success as achieving a high GPA, but realistically, anyone can get a high GPA without doing the proper learning. We, however, define academic success as truly understanding what you are learning and being able to use what you have learned in a professional setting. Our opponents may try to convince you that AI tools help aid struggling students, but in reality, it is just giving a short-term solution to a long-term problem. AI writing tools should be used only in extreme circumstances, but instead it is turned into a way for students to cheat the system and get the grade needed without doing any of the work. You're going to hear a lot of important points from both sides in this debate, but the most important thing to think about is how is AI realistically preparing us in the long run. Sure, it may be helpful when a concept is hard to understand and we need a quick explanation, but what's to stop us from using AI from doing all the work for us? And if we allow ourselves to take advantage of this resource, how are we going to learn what we need to know for our future careers? Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. I'm going to move this back so that you guys can see each other a little better.
Thank you.
That good?
A little more.
No.
Yeah, we're kind of short. Sorry.
All good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have my gavel. I love using my gavel, but unfortunately, because we are interested in civil discourse, I don't get to use it all that often. But if you guys end up getting a little bit too angry at each other, I'll happily use it. But let's go ahead and move to our second round, where, again, our debaters will have a chance to answer some of my questions and address each other. In the second half of our second round, we'll take questions from the audience. So if you have any, feel free to raise your hand, and one of our interns will come around and make sure that they call on you and that you are answered. So I want to pose my first question over to the affirmative, since the negative just spoke. And what I'm hearing is, in some ways, just sort of a parsing of the words in this definition, and particularly the idea of how is it that what does it mean when we say that we're preparing students? And what does it mean when we say that AI is going to help students? So can we talk a little bit about that? I mean, in your definition, in this side's idea, what do you mean when you say that AI is going to help prepare students for academics and profession?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. When we say that it's helping prepare for success,
Yes,
sorry.
Peter, Mark, yeah.
When we say that it's helping to prepare for success for academic and professional life, what we're saying is one of the main things is providing that customizable, accessible tutor. And we have a real-world example of this with Khan Academy and Khan Migo. It's an AI resource in K through 12 schools all across the country, and it doesn't just give you the answer and give you all the steps like you might be thinking about some of these resources. Rather, it prompts you to think and reflect on how you got what you got wrong and how you could potentially improve it.
also want to add to that. I wanted to add to that and say that AI can also has a big efficiency factor to it, meaning that it takes away the hours spent gathering research or finding that right YouTube video to solve that problem. It takes that away and lets the student focus more on how to solve the problem and the questions that they have in order to be successful in the classroom the next day instead.
Okay, great. Yeah. Do you guys want to respond to that? I mean, that those sound like pretty clear benefits.
I think that the biggest thing is that you mentioned Khan Academy. I think that that's a good resource because it doesn't just give you all the answers, but I think ChatGPT is the one that all college students know. Everyone knows about it. And when we have that out there, it really usually people aren't gonna just dismiss the fact that they have something there that's gonna do all the work for them. So I think our problem with it is that there is that that resource doesn't, it literally just does all the work for you, and people are using it to doing all the work for them, and they're not thinking about what they're getting. They're really just getting the answers from that, and they're not thinking about how they're getting those answers. They're just kind of just taking it from that resource.
Yeah, cool. Here.
And then just to add on to that, like, we do understand that some of these resources, such as like Khan Academy, yes, it does sit there and give students an explanation of a problem they may have gotten wrong. But sometimes most students, like kind of like myself, I kind of need that one-on-one personal connection with the teacher, just explaining it to me more in depth. Because although you can get an explanation online, sometimes you'll end up getting misinformation, or you won't get the full explanation that you really need to really understand the issue.
Yeah, response?
Sure. Absolutely. And I'd like to respond first to the point about like, oh, students aren't going to use this way. And I think what's important for us to consider is why at times do we decide to cheat? That you're not going to cheat on the class that you care about and you want to spend the time to legitimately learn it. You're generally going to cheat on the class or have that incentive if you're not invested in the material. And that's one of the most fundamental roles for the educator and for our education system, is helping to motivate students and getting them invested in the material so that they don't want to do that. And AI can help them do that because, kind of responding to the tutoring point, the connection is there is very much a benefit and a continued role of having that personal human interaction. But for a lot of students throughout our education system, teachers just don't have the resources to provide that to them. But AI can help provide this accessible resource to reach all of these students in ways that we can't under our current system.
So how do we balance those two things? Because it sounds like we're talking about, it sounds like both sides are in agreement that AI isn't all terrible, and that interpersonal connection with actual human beings is also very important. So how are we balancing that? I mean, clearly the suggestion here is that we can find some sort of balance that's going to sort of like to integrate AI into a more sort of interpersonal classroom. Can you talk to me about what it is that in your world AI is going to look like working alongside those interpersonal skills?
Yes. So an example that I can think of that AI can be used as a tutor is in coding. So AI can find what's wrong in a code in a matter of seconds compared to a human tutor where it would take hours to figure out what is wrong, what number went awry. And also another example is in literature where a student wants to ask a specific question. In an example of like The Great Gatsby, if the student wants to ask Jay Gatsby himself, he can use AI to be Jay Gatsby. And now the student is getting a different type of education that cannot necessarily get in a classroom from the teacher. Also wanted to emphasize that AI also provides a different kind of learning. It is a self-guided learning. And the example that Sierra mentioned with the one-on-one teacher, that is holistic education and experiential education. These are different kinds of learning that are different, and self-guided learning itself is also beneficial and necessary.
Okay, so and let's talk about this. I mean, what is it about interpersonal skills that make them so vital that we feel as though integrating AI might end up taking away from them?
Okay, so at least for me, I feel like ever since the pandemic has started, we've kind of gotten accustomed to having online systems that help us teach, or something like some type of advanced technology basically to help us learn. And we figure that, yes, often, although AI is beneficial in some resources because we all do use it, that personal connection most of the time is what we need. Yes, I understand that you can always just run to AI to help, and sometimes AI does produce information that can help us figure out what exactly we're trying to learn. But you can't always rely on AI to give you a valid explanation. Sometimes it can lead to misinformation, or you can get biased information just based off of AI.
Yeah, I think adding on to that, with the what Camila pointed out, like the Jay Gatsby example, I think that we're relying a little bit too much on AI. It has been proven that it's had misused information, and it kind of, like, you would think that these type of resources that are so carefully crafted are always accurate, and that's just not the case. And I think that even when Jacob is talking about potentially like how the teacher can't provide the amount of support and expertise, or what you were trying to say, I think we're relying too heavily on this, and I think that maybe just getting more support for the teachers and allowing them to be able to help their students and not just relying on artificial intelligence would have been a lot more productive in our academic life.
Support for teachers, what a novel concept. Yeah.
And we want to echo support for like greater support and greater resources for teachers, because absolutely do need those resources. We're not saying that AI is going to just completely fix the issues we currently have in our educational system, but it's a component of that along with those other resources. And I'm actually glad you brought up the point about biased information, because we shouldn't just take this information at face value. Think about when you have to read different arguments from authors in your field, or you're reading a news article. You're not just taking what they're saying at face value, you're critically analyzing it, seeing if it's true, reflecting on the arguments. And while AI is not perfect, this still represents an opportunity to refine those skills by then analyzing if it works. And also something that could be potentially helpful is a way that many of us have probably used AI already, Grammarly. It's an AI writing tool that can help check for spelling mistakes or weird wording and help save you that time on refining those tasks, so then you can focus more on analyzing your arguments or working with the paper and then developing those more crucial skills.
So I'm glad that you bring up Grammarly. I'm going to pose a question. I promise that you'll be able to answer as well, Camila. But I want to pose a question over here, and just to sort of everybody, because you bring up Grammarly, and I think we're talking very vaguely about students. And obviously students range from, preschool to postgraduate. So I'd love to talk a little bit about what age we're talking about and what we see as appropriate or inappropriate integration of AI, because I would imagine Grammarly is probably a less appropriate thing to use when you have not yet learned grammar, right? Yeah. So can we talk a little bit about that? I mean, can we start with this side over here? What do we feel is a good age to start introducing these interpersonal skills, and why is it that AI might be harmful?
I think that especially these tools should not be used until at least high school, because Grammarly you're still, especially like elementary, if kids are using this, they're really not learning their spelling or checking their grammar. I don't know exactly what I would say for the...
Just to kind of add on to that, like, just to think about it, I don't think any of us were using artificial intelligence at all, like elementary, middle school, anything like that. But I do also think that from high school and on, it is important to emphasize that, like, even though artificial intelligence is there to help us, and we do realize it does have some potential benefits, it can also affect us even outside of high school, going into college, or even just the workforce in general.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that. So me and Jacob, my partner, we're talking about how AI can be used in middle school and high school, and even college, and in the workplace even. And the integration in high school, like Ted was asking, is that high schoolers don't have access to tutoring. They mainly are forced to go to class, maybe classes that they don't even really appreciate, and so they're not really getting the education that they need to at a high school level. Therefore, AI offers that one-on-one tutor opportunity where they can fully ask all their questions that they weren't able to in class. And in college, AI also gives the opportunity for students that don't have all the time to go to the tutoring hours to be able to tutor themselves in the presence of their home when they don't have anybody else to ask.
I'd like to jump onto that, because it actually seems like what you were saying was agreeing with our point. Because we're talking about all levels of students. And we agree with the Taylor approach, much more restricted use for elementary or middle school students that don't have those specific skills.
So can I ask this though, Jacob? Because
Yes.
you brought up Khan Academy before, which you had mentioned is K through 12, right? So when you say
Yeah.
restricted use, talk to me a little bit about what does the restricted use look like? Because you're not talking about all out banning AI in the younger grades, right?
No.
So in what way would we restrict it? Is what I'm asking.
So like what way you could restrict it is, for example, not if you're doing a grammar lesson, not allowing it necessarily to check the grammar, or if you're focusing on making very basic arguments in a first draft of an essay, not allowing it necessarily to do that. But once you have those lessons done, then maybe adding AI as a potential assist to then maybe focus more on those later skills.
Great. Yeah. Look.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with using AI just for small little things like just perfecting something. But I think the point where Camila is trying to talk about tutoring and kind of using AI to replace tutoring, I think that's kind of what I got out of what she was saying. But I think that that's honestly really detrimental. And I think that the idea that we aren't able to be tutored or like we don't have tutors is not really true. I think that in most schools they do offer tutoring, and I do think that personal one-on-one tutoring is really important for a lot of students. I think that it just helps. Like usually tutors will kind of get you to the point where you're actually understand what you're learning, but with AI it's just giving you the answers. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
I'd like
I'll let you respond, and then I'm going to get to my last question, and then we'll get to questions from the audience. Go ahead.
Let me clarify. AI is not going to be replacing anything. We are saying that it is a complementing tool. And I also wanted to go back to the integration of AI at the grade levels, is that technology is being used in the elementary level as well. We're seeing this in iPads, smart boards, calculators. And so it is important to teach students how to use technology and utilize it in a way that is effective in the workplace, since according to the World Economic Forum, 75% of companies are said to have adopted AI technologies in the future. And it shows also that elementary schools are switching from textbooks to tablets as well. And that is also showing a 78% score of proficiency in the way that the students are excelling in their exams.
I'm actually really glad that that's the point that you brought up, because my last question, because we haven't been talking a whole lot about the workplace yet, is going to be about the workplace, and then we'll get questions from the audience after this. But so my last question, let's talk a little bit about AI in the workplace, both in the workplace as it currently exists and as we might imagine it in the future. Can we talk a little bit about why it is that we might find AI possibly not a good tool to help to prepare students for the workplace?
I definitely think that AI kind of is a little bit monotone when it comes to helping us prepare for like interviews or even just work in general. A lot of the times I did notice that when reading articles, it was dating back to around the time the pandemic was very prominent and jobs were being replaced by artificial intelligence, because it was said that, I believe, AI can basically do the work for us or even better than humans. So how are we able to say that AI is beneficial for the workplace when it's replacing our jobs and creating more heightened like unemployment?
Yeah, great. Let's hear a response to that.
I'm glad you brought up the point about like AI potentially replacing different jobs. And this kind of just goes to the theme of technological innovation. When new technologies emerge, such as automation in factories or automobile, other technologies along those lines, it could potentially threaten existing jobs. But the solution is not necessarily to keep those jobs, but the solution is to help transition into better, more productive jobs. So an example in our life is with the emergence of renewable energy that can threaten jobs in the fossil fuel sector. But rather than intentionally propping up the fossil fuel sector, we should help the people in those industries transition into different jobs.
But do you see AI as distinct and different than those other kinds of technologies that have been produced before? Because those are more automation. I mean, do we see AI as distinct and different, or do we see it as more or less the same, or do we see it different but also better?
It's
I know it's sort of a three-part question.
Yeah, more of a continuation, because the type of jobs that AI can replace, for example, one of them could be like cleaning up a data set, like a very simple but very time-consuming task. But then the people in those jobs, rather than continuing with those, could focus more on drawing inferences from the data or then improving it and then focusing on higher paying, higher quality, and more productive jobs. So it's more of a continuation, because while certain skills and certain tasks may not then be viable, we can then shift towards more productive work.
Okay, great. And I'll get some questions from the audience unless you guys want to respond. Okay, let's get some questions from the audience. Do we have a microphone? We do. We do? Okay, excellent. I'll have Riley go around. Oh, I love it when Riley picks the people instead of me. This is great. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
This question is for the affirmative. So I think one of the biggest concerns about AI is enforcing it, reining it in to prevent it from leading to the ramifications that the negative might bring up. So how do you suggest, very briefly, because I know you don't have to provide a plan, but how do you suggest like reining it in for like elementary and middle school students, so then they don't just go to AI and they completely rely on that for all their work and they don't end up actually learning grammar and whatnot?
Yeah, how do we evade the temptation to sort of abuse it? Yeah.
Okay, so to evade the temptation of abusing it in the form of cheating, I think that in that case, it's not necessarily AI's fault that the student chooses to cheat. It is their lack of resource from the teacher. So in order to like prevent cheating, once again, AI did not invent cheating or create cheating. We should utilize, like pop quizzes or some type of analysis that students can know that they have to prepare themselves, and that will want them to not cheat as well.
Can I add on quickly to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just briefly to that, like specifically, I'm glad for the question. Specifically talking about elementary and middle school, a potential tactic is using like a regulated, modified version of AI in the classroom, and then limiting like access to electronics at home, because that's a point in life when the parents can have much more ability to have a say over their kids' electronic access.
And let's get a response from the negative. I mean, I kind of heard this sort of from Sierra before. Do we feel as though AI is going to provide a tool for already academically dishonest students, or is it going to make dishonest students out of otherwise sort of honest students? Is it going to sort of make cheaters out of people who wouldn't otherwise cheat?
Yeah, so I think that the important thing to know is that technology is increasingly advanced. It's becoming very, very prevalent in our society. I don't think that there's a household where a child, usually, like most households, have technology. And I think that with the question that Ted brought up, I think that it is a big temptation, especially with people, even if they're not already like wanting to do that. I think it's very tempting, and I don't think that, especially since these things are available to lower levels like elementary and middle school, I don't think that many kids would pass up that opportunity, and I think that that's just a really bad example set for them for their academic life.
Once again, AI is not responsible for cheating. If the student decides to cheat, that is a decision that the student has made themselves for their own reasons. And then in order to fix that, we should then look at the education system and update it and see how we can address these problems. The same way that the internet has updated the education system, teachers now focus more on critical analysis instead of memorization skills. AI is now a new step in bettering the education system instead.
Okay, let's get another question from the audience. Let's come on a little further back.
Hi. So my question is for the side against AI.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit on the older side here, relatively to most undergraduate student. So I personally remember like 20 years ago how all of the arguments that you said were basically against the internet. How the internet is unreliable, it makes students lazy, it gives them the answer, go to the library, read the book. So kind of like the same thing, but we all took English 102. We learned how to search for reliable sources, how to cite properly from those sources that we find online on the internet. So there's the same concern, and the education system evolved from that.
Yeah.
So how is that? So my question is like, how is your concern against AI is really any different from that concern that was formed about the internet like 20 plus years ago?
Yeah, that's a sort of different phrasing of the question that I had asked them before, which is, do you see AI as distinct from other technologies that have come out prior? And if so, what makes this time different that we should actually be truly concerned?
Okay. So I do understand that most of what we're saying, I don't think we're necessarily trying to say that you shouldn't use AI, you should go and basically get in the library, study, do all that, which isn't what we're saying at all, because we both use AI for an additional help. But what we are
I mean,
trying
you
to
should go to the library and study. But
yeah, you should. But what we're trying to kind of say, I would say, is like AI, although it is an accessible tool to help us, it isn't always beneficial. Most of the time, I think it's 1/3 of all teachers don't even really know how to use this advanced technology, even though it has been around at least for some years. I know it's quite fairly new, but teachers can't even decipher like whose work is whose. They don't know if AI is the student's actual work or if it's not. And then I noticed the point that Camila had brought up, saying that in using AI for prominently for cheating, that it's more so a lack of resource from the teacher, which is why students kind of at least choose to navigate more towards AI is kind of what I understood from that. My thing is, the teachers don't even accurately have the correct amount of resources to even navigate this advanced technology that's going on. Yes, we can't stop students who already are dishonest from cheating, but I feel like we can at least be able to have students aware that AI can't always get you through what you need to get through, especially in school and like the workforce.
But I'm not quite sure that I'm hearing an answer to the question, though. I mean, is AI distinct from other technologies that we've seen in the past, and if so, how?
Yeah, I think AI is even in not even just like ChatGPT, all these academic ways that AI is being used. I think AI is being used to literally, like, I heard this girl's story about how she opened something and they like created something on her face and they sent it to her family, and her family thought that she was like kidnapped or like, I don't know, something like that along those lines. But AI is something that is super powerful, and there's been like, there was former President Barack Obama even stated that this is a problem, and that if we don't control it, then it could potentially lead to misinformation issues. We can see this in music. We can see this in a lot of other places. So it's not something that, we're not saying that technology is bad. We're not saying that you shouldn't use these things, but it's just that we're saying that we should be really cautious about what we're reading, and like just not believing everything that we see, and just kind of going back to not relying on technology as much as we are.
So what I'm
today.
hearing from the neg is that what makes it distinct is that it's a lot more difficult to control. It's advancing a lot faster than other technology before, and that's something that makes it distinct. Can you guys want to respond to that?
Sure, absolutely. Is the way we would respond to that is first echoing the comment from the audience, is that a lot of the similar concerns that we have about AI now we've had in the past about past technologies, and then we've shown that they've not borne fruit given the test of time. And furthermore, the benefit of what we're doing right now with AI in the classroom with things like Conmigo or Grammarly or other tools is we're testing these tools, we're seeing the benefits, and then we're seeing ways to refine them and improve them as they develop. And a question I'd actually like to throw to my opponents really quickly is, you're talking about how you've both used AI at various times to help you in the classroom, that you're not just using it unfettered, you're using it intelligently, you're using it smartly to help you. So wouldn't that be, in that case, it benefited you?
Were you using it intelligently and smartly, or were you using it to cheat on you? Are you pleading the fifth on this?
No, okay. I would say that yes, AI definitely we're using it intelligently, but I would also say it's kind of just like a quick fix. It's not necessarily, although it provides resources to help us quickly understand and figure out how to get through our assignments. A lot of the times I notice whenever even trying to just use AI as an additional tool, I'm still not really fully grasping the concept of what I'm trying to learn. So then having to go do additional resources, and even just potentially just reaching out to a teacher just to further explain kind of helps me grasp the concept a little more.
Great. And so I'm glad that I'm hearing sort of a nuanced take from both sides, because it sounds like neither of you are just flat out sort of rejecting the other side. And it sounds like really what we're arguing is just on net, is AI going to be more helpful or not as helpful? So I'm glad to see that. Let's get. I think we have time for one or two more questions from the audience. Let's get. Oh, we have a lot of hands. This is why Riley has to do the choosing for me.
Yeah. So my question pertains to the ethics of, for example, ChatGPT.
Is this for the negative or for the?
This is for the pro.
Okay, great.
ChatGPT and DALL-E have been characterized as copyright infringement machines. They train on data without the creator's permission, and they generate output based on copyrighted information. This is documented. So given this ethical challenge, is it advisable to encourage its use in students?
Yes, I'd like to address that. So once again, I feel like you were addressing how students are going to utilize AI to cheat and copyright and use it to do all their work for them. And while that is still a possibility, and they can use AI to copyright things and then submit it as their own, that is not something that we advise for. University students are choosing to be here. They're choosing to get an education. So why would they want to basically throw away their opportunity? If a student wants to cheat, that does not have to do with AI.
A quick add-on to that, because that is a very valid concern about respecting copyright and respecting the intellectual properties of the creator's information that went into that. And that is one key area that we can improve upon AI, upon gaining their permission, upon respecting these copyright laws, and respects a way to improve upon AI, but not necessarily going to the way of not necessarily using that, because that is something we can improve.
Response?
I think I just want to ask a question to our opponents. Where do you see this going with how AI is used nowadays? And I want to go back to the prompt and that it's preparing us academically and professionally. Do you truly believe that when Gen Z grows up and goes into their professional lives, that they will be prepared more prepared using AI as like ChatGPT is being used? Do you believe that they will be prepared? Because a lot of this is misuse and people misuse it. So what do you think about that?
Yeah.
I'm glad you bring that up, because the point of misuse, this is a critical area for why the crucial role of the educator in helping to both shape those programs, tailor it to the needs of their students, and then help guide them on how to properly use it. Because we agree that AI can be potentially misused, but because of there are tremendous benefits. And to go into those, for example, having those tutoring resources. I know you mentioned earlier that, well, students have those resources, but a lot of schools across our country are in desperate lack of funding. While they may have tutors or other resources like that, they're simply not equipped to deal with the hundreds, even thousands of students in their school district.
But so what makes them equipped to be able to get ahead of this problem? Because I think that's kind of what the question was from the audience is, if we're going to sort of get ahead of this and be able to set these regulations in, talk to us a little bit about whether or not, are we going to be able to sort of grow and sort of outpace what's going on with how quickly the technology is growing?
As long as we are including both our students and our education system and informed, relevant people in the development of these laws and in the ethical practices, if we're incorporating the advice of people who are the experts and most knowledgeable about how to best respect the copyright laws and the intellectual property, then yes, we absolutely can get ahead of it.
Okay. Do you want to respond? Sierra, respond, and then we'll get one last question from the audience, and then we can wrap up.
Just to kind of play on what our opponent said, I noticed you guys did say that AI, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember that you guys had said something about although AI is oftentimes used for cheating among some students, that teachers can take the curriculum, correct it, and use it for beneficial reasonings. But it's also the concern that some teachers don't know how to use this technology at all. Some students know how to use the technology far more than teachers do at hand. And
Some.
yes. And then some. But also another point I wanted to bring up is the funding aspect of it. Although most teachers, at least in schools that are placed in impoverished communities, they don't also always have the resources available to help teach students, but also AI sometimes, a lot of the AI sites, at least that I've noticed, oftentimes you have to subscribe to the sites, pay for a subscription. How are students able to effectively access this if they can't even afford resources within their own classrooms?
That AI and technology itself costs money.
Yeah.
Well, that's a question, so I'll let you guys answer.
I
and
guess,
then we'll-
brief response about
Yeah.
the accessibility point is some of the ways this can, or just respond 2 points. The accessibility and the training is with the accessibility, yes, they can potentially be a paid subscription, but one of the ways they can go about is the school getting a large band discount or free access to these resources. Like on a similar vein, we can have subscriptions to various academic journals or newspapers just by part of being our university that we're not necessarily directly paying for.
Okay, let's get one last question from the audience. I don't know where Riley is. There we go. All right, last question, and then we will get to our closing statements.
So I want to go back to talking about professionalism in the workplace. And so AI is a very complicated field, which typically requires some kind of degree. And so if AI is phasing out entry-level jobs, does this make jobs less accessible for people who might not have access to higher education?
Great. But that sounds like it's opposed to the affirmative, so go ahead.
Or do you want to?
I had a question. You mean less accessible? Can you rephrase that or say that one more time?
Yeah, so AI is a more complicated field, and if it's taking out lower level entry jobs, does that mean that people who can't afford that higher education are at a disadvantage?
Sure, absolutely. That can present a potential issue, and is the better solution for what we should aim for is, for example, the way this is played out in our country currently is with technological innovation and competitors from overseas that this can threaten local entry-level jobs. But the government, both state and federal government, have programs to provide welfare assistance and training adjustment to help prepare people for those jobs, that even if they don't necessarily personally have those resources, there are resources that can help them get to that point.
Okay. Did you guys want to respond?
No.
No. Okay. Then we have time for one more question. Then, if you guys are going to respond, yeah, one more question.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, let's go over here. Haven't been over here in a while.
All right. Last question. Then let's move to closing statements.
A couple of questions have been posed about access. I'm curious about both sides' opinion about how AI, and particularly generative AI, can be used to help lower barriers of access for English language learners and students with disabilities.
Okay, I'd like to address that question first. So I'm glad that you bring that up because AI is essentially a great tool to help lower that access. So not only can AI translate something, but it can also teach you how to learn a language better than, I would say, other tools. And also AI is accessible, and not only is it something that's a program that's for free for everybody, so not only can anybody use it, but it's also, like we said, a tutor that can effectively ask students in a Socratic way and teach them processes and techniques that the teacher herself or themselves would not able to get done in the classroom.
Olivia, last comment, then let's get.
Can you ask the question again? I just can you just rephrase it? I don't know. I'm not.
Students in the classroom who are either English language learners or students that have some sort of disability that might affect their productive, English, like their ability to speak or their ability to write. How do you see AI as a tool to either enhance their ability to access learning in the classroom, or is it, in your view, a added barrier?
Yeah, how might AI inhibit English language learners who often will learn through doing a lot of their own writing and that process?
I'm like confused about the question. I don't know.
I would say that it could potentially create that additional barrier for oftentimes like for students who don't necessarily know how to navigate the software. Yeah.
You guys good?
So yeah, just to clarify what my answer from earlier. So the students can utilize AI to get ahead and figure out efficiently what they don't know from the language, or have it AI translated to them in a way that they understand, and that way they can utilize that to not only learn the language but figure out what else they don't know based on the subject. So AI can be the first step in a series of in a series of process that will enhance critical thinking and will enhance the student to now be able to understand what they're actually learning for those that are struggling with English.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, let's move to closing statements. Thank you very much for a spirited second round. Before we get to closing statements, we are going to have our interns go around and collect the raffle tickets that everybody has. So they're going to be doing that as we're listening to closing statements. So try and listen and also hand over your raffle tickets at the same time. And we're going to hear our closing statements. After that, we are going to take our second and final vote to find out where it is that everyone lands, and closing out the debate on the affirmative side that AI writing tools will prepare students academically and professionally. We have Jacob.
Yeah. Okay. Imagine that you're in that one difficult class. You're working hard on the material and trying to study, but it's just not clicking. The teacher doesn't have enough time and resources to be able to help you fully, and your friends are just as stumped. Frustrating experience, right? But what if there had been a better way? What if you had had a resource that could provide a customizable and accessible tutor to help you overcome those tough spots and guide you through the learning process? What we are advocating for provides that and much more. Our case is that AI writing tools complement existing resources and fill in the current gaps in our educational system. And throughout this debate, you've heard a lot of facts, arguments, and statistics thrown at you, so I want to boil it to the key themes and the takeaways. And a main crux of our opponent's case was that AI writing tools would cause students to cheat because they would choose to take the easy road out and shortcut the learning process. And what might come to mind is students just plugging in all the answers into AI and just spitting everything out. But we really want to think about why they're doing this. You're not going to cheat on the class that you're invested in, that you're caring about the outcome and learning the skills and the knowledge in that class. You're going to do it for the class that you're not invested in. One of the most critical roles for our educators in our system is helping invest our students in the classes, particularly through K through 12, where students don't have the choice of whether or not to be in the educational system. And we've shown that there's many ways that AI can be used to help prompt this process, not just give the answers, like our Conmigo example, where it forces you to think and critically reflect on your work rather than just spitting out the answers. And there's not only tremendous benefits in education, but there's also benefits in the workplace. Think about the ability to automate tasks like data entry or refining your grammar on paper so that you can spend that more time on those more productive tasks. And another point that our opponents didn't fully address is what about the issue of equity, about accessibility, like with disabled and English as a second language learners or students without the resources in their educational system. What about if they don't have the resources for that personalized tutoring or those study resources? What then? But ultimately, this debate has meanings outside of this room. This debate is about innovating for the future. When new technologies come out, they bring both promise and dangers. As our opening speaker said earlier, it can be both exciting and terrifying. And we should not leap forward blindly and recklessly, but rather than holding ourselves back out of an abundance of caution, we should harness this powerful resource to heal the gaps in our educational system so we can propel all of us into the future to academic and professional success. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. And closing out the negative side of the debate, answering no to the question, will AI writing tools prepare students academically and professionally? We have Sierra.
Okay. Firstly, I want to take the time to thank our opponents and our moderator for making this debate possible. With that being said, AI undoubtedly produces beneficial resources to any age and or setting. However, we want to make sure that we shed light on the potential risks that we feel that everyone in this room should be aware of. No matter what type of learner you are, the aspect of community learning should never be lost. The inclusion of artificial intelligence abolishes the interpersonal connection amongst all of us in and outside the classroom. Under our current political and economic system, how can we even ensure that that we can continue with artificial intelligence without losing control over it? Our opponent brought up in their opening statement that technology creates a shock that we can't even understand, which brings up the issue of how can we control a technology that we don't fully understand? How can we even 100% navigate this technology effectively without knowing that we're not going to run into barriers or bumps in the road? Now, we're not trying to propose a solution to you. We know that it's no secret that artificial intelligence is here to stay. However, the integration of AI within the educational purposes emphasizes the importance of trying to get students such as myself and you all to understand and preserve the authenticity and reliability of learning, as well as the emotional connection amongst us all. Imagine not being able to effectively communicate with your peers or have a simple conversation. For students such as myself, I need that one-on-one connection with my teachers to really grasp the material and understand what I'm trying to say. Yes, AI will help me get something done faster that I might have procrastinated on, but I have to ask myself, will I really understand fully what I'm learning? Asking questions to your teachers will become increasingly difficult. Not being able to formulate that personal connection on job applications is what separates us from our counterparts. The personal connection, emotional appeal, and authenticity is one thing we all strive for within aspects of individuality. It's what separates us from each other. How can we continue to create authentic and genuine connections when we aren't even sure how to formulate what we're saying into words? Artificial intelligence can't help us feel, nor can it effectively have our voices heard. Seeing as we're all the future, I'm sure no one in this room would appreciate having their voices silenced by advanced technology. Now, if you forget 99% of the information told within this debate, I hope that you remember this. The problem isn't AI, the problem is that no one is addressing how AI should be properly used. In noting that, we want to enhance interpersonal skills and connections amongst all of us. This is why we are proud to negate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we're going to take our second and final vote now. Just go ahead and scan the QR code behind my head. And I believe you had three choices at the beginning, affirmative, negative, or undecided. And I believe we got rid of our undecided vote for the second, right? Only two. So you could only vote affirmative or negative, no undecided. So you got to just be forced to take a stand here. So go ahead and scan the QR code. While you do that, I'm going to go ahead and reach in. Again, we have two different prizes. We have a T-shirt from Gentle Ben's, and we also have a gift card from Gentle Ben's. And I think it would be unfair to have you guys fight over it. So I'm just going to say, for the T-shirt from Gentle Ben's, we have... Yeah, do we have a drum roll? Alex M. 4354. Come on down, get your T-shirt. And for the $25 gift card to Gentle Ben's, if you go on $2 Tuesday, that means you can get 12 different drinks. I mean, food, your students. Desiree Riley. All right, how are we doing on the second vote?
We just finished.
Okay. Can we unplug the screen? Yeah. All right, everybody, we have your votes. They are in. That was super, super fast. Thank God for AI for tabulating the votes so quickly. Okay, the votes before. The affirmative before the debate was at 54%. People who were voting no to the answer before the debate were at 22%. And undecided was 24%. Afterwards, the affirmative went from 54 to 76%. They picked up 22% of the vote. And afterward, the negative ended up with 23%. So that gives us our clear winners over here. The future's going to be okay. We're going to be able to make it through together. Thank you all very much for coming tonight. I want to have a special thank you to ICBI for helping us and collaborating with us. I also want to thank Barney for coming up at the very beginning and giving us a wonderful introduction. I want to thank all 4 of our debaters who were great. Thank you all for coming out. And I, more than anything, want to thank the hardest working team of people in the entire world, the UA Debate Series interns, 11 badass women, and Jacob. Thank you very much. This was absolutely excellent. Thank you all.